All right, today we're going to be talking about rates with decimals and fractions. Let's start with rates with decimals. If we have two apples that cost $1.50, let's fill out this table using that information. Let me make this a little bit smaller. Okay, we're going to fill out this table. So we know two apples cost $1.50 because that was given to us up here in the problem. And then if two apples are $1.50, then one apple must be 75 cents. So one way I could figure that out, if you weren't sure, is you could write a ratio and then make a unit rate. Remember, we always put the money on top because we want to know how much one costs. You can do 150 divided by 2 to get that 75 cents. Once you have the unit rate, which is how much it costs for one, you can find any of them by multiplying the number of apples by the unit rate. So 0 apples, of course, costs $0, but 3 apples, you could do 3 times 75 cents to get $2.25. And for 4 apples, oh, you guys catch my mistake right there? That doesn't say 75 cents, does it? It says $7.50. 4 apples times 75 cents would be $3. All right, over here, we are going to graph what we see in the table. So let's look at a couple of things here. First of all, you can see that along this x-axis is the number of apples, and on the y-axis is the cost. So let's use these as like points. Let me switch colors here, as points on our coordinate plane. So we have 0 apples cost $0. So there's my first point. And then 1 apple, which is right here, costs $1.75, which is about here. So I'm going to put a point approximately here on my graph. I can't zoom in anymore. Then 2 apples is $1.50. No, wait, whoops. I made a mistake, but I'm not going to start the video over, so we're going to roll with it. 1 apple is 75 cents, which is right here, because it would be 3/4 of the way to 1 from 0. And then 2 apples is $1.50. $1.50 is halfway between $1 and $2. 3 apples is $2.25, which is about right here. And 4 apples is $3. So I'm going to connect my points right here. Maybe, oh look, with a straight line. All right. So then we're going to answer some questions down here about this. How much would 8 apples cost? Well, you can look on your graph right here and see where the 8 apples would be. Looks like it's about $6. To be sure, you could do 8 times 75 cents because I know 1 apple costs 75 cents and that would actually cost $6. There's lots of ways you could do this. Maybe you noticed right here that if 4 apples were $3, then twice as many apples would be twice as much money. For 62 apples, though, I think the best method would be to multiply 62 times 75 cents, since it would go pretty far on our graph or on our table. So if we multiply those, we get $46.50. So see how important that unit rate is. We can use it for any number of apples. How many apples could we purchase for $18? So for that one, different ways again that you could do it. You could say that like 75 cents buys 1 apple, and then you could do $18 buys how many apples, and see if you could figure it out that way. But I think I would take that $18, divide it by 75 cents to see how many 75-cent single apples fit into $18. And I'm going to get 24. So you could buy 24 apples with $18. You could check it and you could multiply 24 times 0.75 to make sure you get 18. Number 6 says to write an equation that represents the cost of apples related to the total number of apples. So for that one, you could say that the cost of all the apples costs 75 cents times the total number of apples purchased. That's not the only right answer, but that's probably the most popular right answer. And then lastly, name a point on the graph that represents the unit rate. Remember, the unit rate, I thought that was the highlighter. The unit rate means how much for one apple. So we're going to go on our graph over here and we're going to look where it says 1 apple right here. And this is going to be the point where we have 1 apple for 75 cents, and that's the point 1, 0.75. So that's some practice with rates using decimals. Now let's practice using rates with fractions. So up here we have our situation that Ethan charges $26.25 to watch his walk dogs for 2.5 hours. So here it is represented in my table, that exact same thing. For tables like this, I think it's always really wise to begin by finding the unit rate. So how much for 1 hour? Remember, to find a unit rate, I can set up a ratio, $26.25 for 2.5 hours. You can write 2.5 because I'm going to put that in my calculator now. I'm going to divide 26.25 by 2.5 hours to find that Ethan makes $10.50 per hour. Once you have the unit rate, you can find any of the values in the table using that unit rate. Whoops, I thought that I was on the highlighter again. So I can use the unit rate for any of those. For example, I can multiply, any of the numbers up here, the hours, by 1050. So he makes 1050 per hour. So I can multiply the number of hours by 1050. How do I do that here? I can put in 0.5 times 1050. It's just half of 1050, right? So he'd make 525 for a half hour. You could either add these two together for an hour and a half, or you can do 1.5 times 1050 to get 1575. You can double that 1050 to get the 2 hours. So that's 1050 times 2, which is $21. You can do 1050 times 3 to get, well, that doesn't sound right, does it? 3150. I need more room now. I think I typed something wrong into my calculator. And for 3.5 hours, I can do 3.5 times 1050 to get 3675. And I can double the two. The 2 to get the 4 to get $42, or I can multiply 4 times 1050. Okay, now I'm going to graph it. Here are the hours. Here's the amount earned. And you can see that this time, unlike the example with the decimals, there are no numbers on my graph. In other words, it's not labeled yet. So I need to choose what numbers I'm going to put on my graph to label it. The hours are pretty easy. The hours go from 1 to 0. Well, we'll start at 0, but from a half hour to 4 hours. So let's do that first because that's going to be our easiest axis to label. So I'm going to start here at 0. Whoops, I have the highlighter on. I think I'll do half hours, or I'll do 1 hour, 2, 3, 4, and spread it out. I like that. Okay, the money has to go from 0 to $42. How many do I have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So if we want to fit everything on there, I would say maybe I'll count by 4s. 4, 8, 12, 16, 20. It's not the only way to do it, but I think that this is a good way to get all the numbers that we need on there. All right, let's start putting the points on. So of course, 0 hours of dog walking will earn Ethan $0. But a half hour will earn him $5.25. It's about right there. 1 hour is a little more than 10. And 1.5 hours, almost to 16. 2 hours is $21. It really wants to like make a shape for me. 2.5 hours is that $26.50. 3 hours is $31.50, so almost to 32. 3.5 hours is about right here. And 4 hours is $42. So let's connect that with a line. Hopefully a straight one. Pretty good, pretty good. So Ethan's unit rate for walking the dog is right here. It's for how much per hour? So $10.50 per hour. Now let's answer the questions down here. If Ethan made $73.50 walking dogs, how many hours did he work? Well, I know that 1 hour is $10.50, so let's do $73.50 divided by $10.50 to see how many hours that is. $73.50. I'm using my calculator, but as always, I'm also showing my work. So that's 7 hours. How much does he charge for 5 hours? Well, we don't have 5 hours in our table or in our graph, but we do know that he makes $10.50 per hour, so I can multiply 5 hours times $10.50 to get $52.50. I've seen some students in the past with this problem maybe add the amount Ethan makes in 4 hours to the amount Ethan makes in 1 hour to get the 5 hours. That would work just fine too. Thanks for watching.